Welcome to the sector review for mid-April 2023. Now, I have added some more sectors to the our usual list of sectors. Now, I've added like consumer durables, financial services, healthcare, consumption, manufacturing. These are the new sectors like oil and gas have been added to the list. So we will have a broader look at the market as such. So normally I look at the monthly performance during the month end, but since we have added these sectors, let's have a quick look at the monthly performance of all the sectors. Just an overview. So if you look at the autos, have been weakening. As you can see, the auto sectors have been weakening here. The banking sectors have been doing strong for the last 6 7 months. You can say the consumer durables are underperforming, energy is underperforming, financial services we have been following up closely, and it is the one of the strongest sectors as of now, and even FMCG has been the strongest sector performing recently. The healthcare index have been lagging or underperforming sector. The consumption was doing well, now it is underperforming. Manufacturing is having a lackluster kind of performance, as you can see. The infrastructure for the last 2 months, we could see some improvements and some slight of outperformance compared to the broader market. Metals still on a monthly basis, it is outperformer, but on a lower time frame, we have seen that it is underperforming. Oil and gas have been underperforming for the last quarter. PSU banks have been outperforming. Realty and service sectors have been underperforming sector on a monthly basis. So if you come to the weekly time frames, you can see autos have been there was some improvement in the autos, but the last 3 weeks you can see they are underperforming. Banking, we saw that there was a temporary dip, and again for the last 1 month it has been outperforming the broader market. Consumer durables, though on a higher time frame, they have not been doing well, but you can see some improvements coming in here. Financial services and FMCG, we saw they were the strong sectors. And the consumption saw some improvement in the past few weeks. The manufacturing again have been underperforming. Infrastructure saw some improvement. The IT sector, though there was some temporary respite, it has been one of the worst performing sectors recently. And the metals have been lagging. MNCs has continued to do well on the weekly time frame as well. And we did see that Pharma was improving recently. And last week, of course, it became one of the strong performers or outperformers, you can see. Realty and services continue to do badly. Now, let's come to the daily time frame, that is the recent past, how the various sectors have been doing. We saw some improvements in the auto sector in the last week. Last week was not a full week. We had only 4 days of trading, but you can see some improvements coming in auto. Banking saw some weakness in the last 2 days, you can say. The financial services continue to do well, and surprisingly, the FMCG sector saw weakness coming in here on The last week it was one of the underperformers, you can say. Manufacturing saw some improvement. Metal still lagging. Okay, one day it was saw some changes. You can say oil and gas is still the underperforming sector. Pharma, we saw that it is an outperformer for the last 2 3 weeks, and the PSU banks, which was on a higher time frame, is a strong performance, but on the daily time frame, you can see they have been underperforming. Realty sector saw some improvement last week, and the services sector was in a lower time frame, did well, but it is weakening now. So this is the overall picture. So basically, you can see the strong performers are the banking and the financial services and the pharma. These are the three sectors that have been doing well, and we can see improvements coming in auto sector. Some improvements coming in, so we'll have a deep, more in-depth look at autos, whether these improvements will sustain here. The health sector index saw some improvements here, but this recent increase in COVID cases, maybe some of the health index, healthcare index saw some improvement because of that. But again, last week it started weakening. So the main three sectors which we look in detail would be the banking, financial services. Banking, of course, saw some weakness creeping in, but we'll have a detailed look at it. Financial services, one of the strongest sectors, and the pharma. So we look more into details of these sectors and to see how broad-based is the improvement, or it is driven by a few stocks. The first sector which we are going to look in detail is the banking. As you can see, it has been doing well on the monthly time frame, weekly time frame, and also on a daily time frame. Ideally, when it is doing well in all three time frames, then that is the one of the strongest performing sector. But in the last 2 days of the week, we saw some weakness creeping in here. And you can see the sector movements here on a weekly basis. It temporarily it became weak, went into an underperformer, then again it is coming back into a strong outperformer. But on the daily, you can see it was doing well, then it sort of weakened, but it still was positive, slightly dipped into weakness zone, and now it is still in the last 2 days a little underperformance compared to the overall market. This is an overview of that sector, and you can see the volatility has sort of increased here, and of course the returns have been also positive on the green side. So let's look and sector in little more detail. Let's start looking at some of the charts to see if the whole sector is performing well or it is all driven by a few stocks. A quick look at the chart of the Nifty Bank here. When we looked at it last time, it had just crossed above the supply line, and we saw some tiredness in the up move as well. And we expected some sort of a pullback, but which that never happened. We saw a day of weakness, then again it started moving up. And on the last trading session, we saw a good effort to move up bar, crossing above the previous rejection zone of 14,560 and 14,980. So technically it has made a higher high. So ideally it should be in an uptrend, in at least in the intermediate times frame, and it should move up. But on the negative side, we can say that it had moved up along without a break. So a lot of overbought situation could exist, and then that could push the index for a small correction or a pullback, and that again should give us opportunities for entering long. So let's see, wait and see how the next week performs. But overall, there is a lot of strength exists in the index itself. We will quickly look into the charts of the constituents of the Bank Nifty index. ICICI Bank, of course, we are going to look at the recent performance, how the stock has been doing well, whether it is getting reflected in the index performance as well. As you can see, the ICICI stock is indeed doing well, and it is now crossed a crucial area of 884, and it's likely to move up further. We'll look at the stock in detail later. But if you look at Axis Bank, it has been a lackluster sideways move. So HDFC Bank is one of the strongest performer. It is now approaching to cross the previous high here, a previous rejection zone here. So let's see how it's going to perform in the coming weeks. PNB is not doing really well. It is taking support on the 200 DME. The State Bank again is not, it has been comparatively underperforming compared to the other banking stocks. IndusInd, only it has not been doing well. Of course, the last day of the week we did see some improvement. Only one day. Kotak Bank was indeed doing well, and we saw a gap up here. AU Bank was not doing well, but in one day outperformance is a big jump here with huge volume. Federal Bank lackluster sideways. Bandhan Bank not doing well. IDFC First, the structure is really interesting here, but that will be studied a part of another video. The Can Bank again not a good structure here. Here again sideways, not a interesting structure. Again, it's not an interesting one. Bank of India, Union Bank. So you can see the whole in the index is being driven by the heavyweights ICICI Bank and the HDFC Bank, and to some extent the Kotak Bank. So these are the three stocks which has been pushing up the banking index, and these are the heavyweights in the index. So naturally we can see that they are the drivers for the index. So it is not a holistic kind of performance for the banking sector, but it's driven by a few stocks only. It is so very stock specific, and that too the large cap ones. Now, the next sector we look at is the financial services. On a monthly time frame, of course, it has been doing well. On the weekly, there was some weakness in the last more than 2 months, or the last 8 9 weeks. It has been outperforming the market, and on the daily as well, it has been doing quite well continuously. So looking at all the time frames, this is one of the strongest sector, and it's clearly reflected in the sector movement itself. You can see most of the time it is in the positive territory, and On the daily, it is again in the positive territory, it is moving around in the positive territory only. So now let's look at the few charts in the financial sector index to see again if the movement is widespread performance or it is very stock specific. A quick look at the chart of the Nifty Financial Services Index. Last time when we looked at the index, the index was at the edge of the previous rejection zone, and it we did expect it to do well, and we saw some weakness or some supply, little supply coming at this level, and it's again started moving up. Now it is in the next rejection zone. Uh, But if you look at the volume, it has been quite huge. And we saw it is one of the strongest sectors, and we expect it to continue. So we can expect a little supply at this area till 19,000 levels. And also the index has run up a lot, as you can see here. So we may see some supply coming or some overbought situation coming and pushing the index back a little or for to a retracement. But still, you can see a lot of things does exist for the index here, and we expected the outperformance to continue. Coming to the constituents of the financial services index, some of the big banks are also part of this index. You can see now if you can look at PFC. Of course, it was not a big performer here, though. Okay, uh, off late it did well the last 2 weeks, but the last 2 days it was not doing well. ICICI Bank, we saw it was a good performer. We have Axis Bank not doing really well. HDFC Bank has been a rank outperformer. Can see SBI Guard, it is a bad performance structure is very weak. HDFC is performing equally like the banking company. We saw that the State Bank was not really doing well. Bajaj Finserv is again not doing very well. Chola Financials has been doing quite well. Of course, last week, after seeing a buying climax, it has been moving a little weak. Muthoot Finance trying to recover here. ICICI General Insurance and not really doing well. ICICI Prudential is trying to recover. It is trying to cross above the 100 DMA. HDFC, AMC is also trying to recover. IEX, of late we saw a good recovery coming in. Kotak Bank again we saw a good performer. HDFC Life again trying to recover here. REC not really doing well. SBI Life is also not really an outperformer here. As you can see, this is a little more broad praise than the banking sector performance. We have more stocks, of course. Here also, most of the banking sectors in this index, like the ICICI, HDFC Bank, all are doing better, and HDFC is also added here. And we have the Chola Finance, IEX, and all that adding more to the index movement. So a little more broad-based performance seen in the financial services index, unlike the banking sector. Let's have a quick look into the FMCG sector. which is one of the strongest performers. But the last week we saw some weakness coming in. So it will be, as you can see, the sector movement, the weekly one, it is always in the positive. But on the daily, you can see it is slipping to the underperformance zone here. So let's quick have a quick look into the stocks of this sector index. Have the constituents of the FMCG index here. First, of course, ITC uh, of late has been doing well and it's trying to come out of this congestion zone here. Godrej CP has been doing well. Tata Consumers is under not doing really well. Structure is bad. Marico is really weak. Britannia also has been doing little weak. Imami structure is very bad. UBL same case. Nestle was doing indeed trying to recover. It's moved above the 200 DMA. Unilever again took support from here and started moving up. Now above the 200 DMA. McDowell's, not a really interesting structure here. You can see all these are not really doing well. Radico was doing indeed well, but of late it has been underperforming. Varun Beverages has been doing well. You can see it's trying to cross this the last rejection zone here. So here again you can see the whole index have been driven by very specific stocks like ITC, Nestle, Lever, Colpal, few stocks pushing the index up, whereas the overall like Marico, UBL, McDowell's, Dabur, Radico, all are not doing really well. The structures are really bad. So you can see it is again very selective stocks pushing up the index here. So we need to be a little cautious on this movement because these are not broad-based sectoral up move. Let us have a quick look into the pharma sector. The pharma sector has been improving. We have been closely tracking this. Now it has become an outperformer here. As you can see in the weekly time frame, it was improving. Now it has come into a leading sector here. As we can see, it was a rank underperformer. Slowly it improved, and now it is in the positive territory on the daily time frame itself. It has been doing well. Little weakening coming, you guys can see by the color change here. You can see it has been little weak and dipped into weakening zone and is back to the leading zone here. Let's quickly have a look at the charts of this index as well. We don't want to keep the video too long because Prime is at premium for everybody. A quick look at the Nifty Pharma Index. Now, when we looked at the index last time, it was in the rejection zone between 12,190 and 12,465. So this time it effectively crossed that rejection zone, and also there was a good attempt to take out the 200 DMA on high volume, as you can see here, with a widespread effort to move a bar, but then it faced little supply, though the volume has come down, but still there was a supply. So this 200 DMA is giving some resistance to the upward movement, and also it had run up a lot. So again, it will find struggle a little to take out the 200 DMA, and it has to first take out the 200 DMA to go up further. Here are the constituents of this pharma index. Of course, the strongest performer has been the Glenmark Pharma. I had already posted this chart before. when it broke out of the previous rejection zone. It has done quite well. Of course, we see some little tiredness coming here in this move, so one has to a little be cautious. Divi's Lab was an underperformer, but last week we saw some good jump up here. Let us see, it is now moved above the 100 DMA. Let's see how it performs in the coming weeks. Granules not really good. Abort has been doing quite well. It has gone about this crucial long-term resistance here. Let's see how it performs. Cipla, we trying to recover here. Alchem is done well. The last, the recent past, Zydus Life has been continuously doing well. Dr. Reddy has been doing well. Torrent Pharma again is trying to recover. It's moved above all the averages. Oro Pharma has done well. Pfizer again is trying to recover here. Sanofi again, it started to move up. Now struggling to move beyond the 200 DMA. Gland Pharma is in a bad shape. Sun Pharma was doing quite well. There's a dip, took support on the 200 DMA and is trying to move up again. Laura's Lab, he has been a rank underperformer. Natco Pharma, again, structure is not interesting at all. Glasgow is again in a bad shape. Biocon, not interesting. Ipca, Lupin, all these are doing badly. Here again, the indexes is driven by 3-4 main stocks like the Glenmark, Zydus, Dr. Reddy's. There are a few stocks pushing Auro Pharma. These are the few 4 or 5 stocks pushing the index up, while an equal number is doing badly or lackluster performance. But as you can see, there many of them are uptrend, and then this is like maybe likely to catch on, and this sector is would continue to do well. It looks like. And finally, we will have a quick overview on the few sectors which were newly added to our list, and they were doing well in the weekly time frames. As you can see, one was the consumer durables, and the weekly time frame, the last 1 month, it has been an outperformer. But of late, you can see it has been underperforming. As you can see from the sector movement, it was good and then it became weak. Now it is trying to recover here. So this is one sector we can keep on watch. The next one is infrastructure. Of course, it is doing well on the monthly as well the last 2 months, and again it went a little weak, and recently it has been doing well. But on the daily time frames, as you can see, it has been lagging. It is performing. It is clearly reflected in the sector movement chart as well. As you can see in the daily time frames, it went into a negative territory here and started improving. Now this is again, one can put it on the watch. And lastly, you have the consumption sector, where you can see it was doing quite well for quite many months. Then it started weakening and then went into an underperformance mode. But in the weekly, you can see the last 1 month, it has been doing well, and but again on a daily time frames, it has become underperforming. So this is likely to continue for the next week as well. Now, I hope you found this video quite useful. In case you find this useful, please do press the like button. Thanks for watching and spending your time on this.